Okay, hello. Happy April, everyone. My name is Becky Krieger. I am the outreach coordinator here at Hilltop Children's Center, and I'm so excited to be joined by Amelia Bolyard for today's workshop, Simple Tools for Healing Solutions. And this is part 2 of Amelia's series that she has presented for our Outreach Institute. We were very grateful to be in Amelia's presence back in November for an in-person event, very inspired and impacted by Amelia's incredible presence and teachings. And we're grateful to be able to be in a virtual space this time around. So thank you all. Just a few housekeeping items before we jump into our content tonight. You can access closed captioning for this workshop by going to your menu bar in your Zoom room, clicking on the button that says More with the 3 dots, and choosing the Captions option. Also, if you are able to keep your mute on, that is much appreciated just to minimize interruptions. At the same time, we love it when you have your video screen on, if that is possible for you tonight, just so we can see each other and feel that connection. No stress if that's not possible for you today. And if you are having any technical issues, you can either message me in the chat directly, or you can send me an email at institute@hilltopcc.org. And now I'd love to officially introduce Amelia and give a brief land acknowledgement, and then we will jump into our training for the day. Amelia Bolyard is a parent coach and home visiting children's embodiment coach through Alta, her private practice, alongside her business partner, Betty Peralta. She's also worked for the Office of Public Defense in a domestic violence shelter, with families reuniting after foster care, and with private clients. And Amelia trains on the neurorelational framework, an equitable trauma-informed approach to treating toxic stress, which you're going to learn more about tonight. And Amelia brings nearly 30 years of experience working with children and their families. And I know that she will tell you a bit more about herself as well in the training. And before I pass the mic off to Amelia, I invite all of you to take a moment and come into presence and join me for a land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is a traditional custom dating back many centuries for many Native communities and nations, and it is one simple way that we can resist the erasure of Indigenous histories and work towards honoring and inviting the truth. And one moment while I admit some more folks into the room here. Here we go. So wherever you are joining us from today, we pause to acknowledge and sit for a moment with the uncomfortable truth that we all stand on stolen Indigenous lands. Where I work and reside in Seattle, we occupy the traditional land of the Duwamish people in the city named for their chief, who was the first signer of the Treaty of Point Elliott, a promise of land rights still denied 168 years later. We are also on the land of the Suquamish, the Muckleshoot, and the Snoqualmie tribes of what is known today as King County, past and present. We also occupy the lands that touch the shared waters of all tribes and bands within the Puyallup and Tulalip nations. We honor with gratitude the land itself and these tribes. And Amelia's presentation today will speak to some of the ways that we can both honor and learn from Indigenous wisdom and values by centering them in our practices as parents, family members, and early childhood professionals. And I will drop a few more links in the chat to encourage you to take further action towards Indigenous restorative justice in your own community with the resources you have. And with that, I pass the microphone to Amelia. Welcome, Amelia.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My goodness, I'm so grateful to be here with you all. I became emotional to be reminded to hear the wisdom of the indigenous history and cultures of these lands connected to the land acknowledgement was a really striking moment for me today that hasn't happened before. It gives me so much joy to honor the richness of the peoples who helped keep fertilize this land, kept it fertile, and have now our families thrive in this space. Um, and here we are today to celebrate that in a way. And I'm Amelia. You can call me Amelia. I'm Amelia Bolyard. You heard that I'm a children's embodiment coach. And I'll just explain that a children's embodiment coach is in my capacity as a children's embodiment coach, I go into homes with families who are experiencing what in the NRF, the neuro-relational framework, with the NRF, we call toxic stress. One could also think about it as debilitating or just absolutely overwhelming or unreasonable levels of stress. We call it toxic stress because it functions that way in the person who's experiencing it. It feels like it drains them of their energy, their life, their joy. So the NRF addresses that, and I go into homes with people who have identified that that is happening in their homes. And when I do that, I get to look around and feel into it and watch children do things that children do to indicate that stress is too high, observe adults respond to that. And I get to go in like a sleuth, kind of like a detective, and take notes and give feedback as to what I've seen and what I think might help. And that is what has compiled a list of tools that are my favorite tools that I brought to share with y'all today. Those simple tools. Simple is not a misleading word. They are simple. They simply require some time. They just need some time. But given time and given we integrate some of the approaches and the priorities that I'm going to talk about today, the time passes beautifully and the simplicity takes hold. So, you heard that I work with Betty Peralta. Betty and I will be merging our practices later this year, probably, hopefully by the end of the summer. So you see here, I've said that I'm here in association with my practice, Mango Family Wellness, and Betty's practice, Alta Avenues or Alta Venues. And we will be children in bloom in a few months down the road here. So stay tuned for that. There's information at the end of this presentation today that shows you how to get a hold of us and to learn more about the NRF if you're interested. And I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you for the choice that you made to use your time this way today, to use your energy this way today. Time, Betty and I, we agree, we say time is love. Time is love. When we give ourselves time, when we give each other time, when I show up and I get to share my time with you, what I experience is that we are spreading love. And that time, being as precious as it is, isn't valued in this current climate of ours. In our world, we sometimes are not paid well for our time. Sometimes we're not acknowledged that things take time. And unfortunately, what happens is time gets outsourced and utilized by those who may or may not appreciate it for what it's really worth, what its true value is, which is love. And then we don't have time to love ourselves and to put love where we would prefer to put it. And I would like to just start by saying today, as I share with you what I have, there is this common denominator, and that is that we start with ourselves. We start with the parent, the caregiver, prioritizing your self-care, your capacity to be in a cycle of love being given and received. Something that happens sometimes when I'm teaching is people start to compare, or when I'm presenting, people start to compare ideas that I'm presenting with things they've done in the past. And they start to judge them sometimes and say, oh, I've done it wrong. Or, oh, I knew I made that mistake. Or what's my problem? Or what was I thinking? Or what is she thinking? Maybe she's wrong. All of these are understandable feelings. And my request is that we prioritize look at some self-acceptance with this and accept and remember that we do our best with the information we have since the dawn of time, whatever information we've had, as limited as it was, as vast as it is now. We've done our best with the information that we have, and we simply have more information now, and you are here to receive it. And so your best will look different from one day to the next, and be gentle with yourself if you do get into that comparison mindset. And remember that you've done your best, and then you've chosen to use your time, your love, to come and see what else there is for you today. I will admit I am missing being in your presence. I really love live interactions with people. And today this was a really great solution to make things really simple and accessible and keep us together. So thank you for your flexibility. Those of you who are live together, hope you're enjoying each other's presence. You can maybe give each other hugs at the end. Maybe you saw somebody you know. That's great. So today's presentation is called Connect, which is an acronym. And this is part 2 of Simple Tools for Healing Solutions. And the way I'd like to start before I break down Connect and I break down the acronym and all of the functions, I want to just show everybody this pie chart of the nervous system arousal states. They're also known as awake states. Now, some of you, if you were in part 1, you've seen this before, you have this slide, and you will receive a copy of these slides for your convenience after the presentation. But what we have here is this pie chart that represents the states of the nervous system when we are awake. And I will be referencing these colors, so I wanted to start with them so that I can reference them with your understanding what I mean. We see red and we see combo where blue and red meet, and we see blue and we see green. And when we're talking about children who are dysregulated, children who have toxic stress, when we're interacting with neurodivergent children, children who are struck with trauma, grief, disability, anything that increases their experience of challenge in this world, we are meeting children who are expressing often through the red zone, where they are in a threat response. And they might express through the red zone or through the blue zone in their threat response. And that can include children who yell and have what people call temper tantrums and throw things and break things and bite things and threaten things themselves and others and scare us. And we become concerned about these people that we love. Some of those children are in the red zone. There are 2 expressions of the red zone. There's the positive red and the negative red. In the positive red, that's like kids at a birthday party who've had a lot of cake. They're not really in control. They're really not able to tune in with you. They're not really able to take instructions, but they look happy because they're bouncing and they're just all over the place. And they're expressing kind of the stress of being so excited and having so much fun and so much sugar on board. So it's a stress, and it's not out of hand, but it can't, if it's kept inside, it could become a blowout later. So they're offloading. And that's a good thing. We want children to offload stress. We want everyone to offload stress. We also have the negative red zone, which is the lower half of the red zone you see here. So at the top, you see that flitting, the frenzied. At the bottom, you see the aggressive, more of the rage. And that's where we have children who are interested in destruction and the threats and talking about killing or creating harm. So those are 2 expressions of the red zone. And those are healthy expressions of toxic stress. That is how children release toxic stress. And we who love children want them to get that stress out of them, because we know now in our society that stress promotes chronic illnesses, both physical, mental, emotional, all of those. So then we have blue zone children. Blue zone kids are what you see here. They are shut down. They're the kid you can't get the answer from. The kid who won't tell you what's going on, isn't making it obvious that what the level of their response is to the stressors. They've just decided their way of keeping themselves alive, their survival technique is to shut down and to not, and they're basically conserving energy and preserving their well-being by doing so. And it can be very concerning as caregivers to have a child who won't answer a question. How are you? What do you need? Are you okay? What happened? And there's very little feedback. and our minds can race. So blue zone kids are the quiet kids. Now, both the red and the blue zone children are expressing appropriately, they are expressing survival techniques to preserve their well-being. One is offloading stress. The other one is trying to prevent incoming stress so that their stress level doesn't increase anymore. And they're preserving their lives. And this is really important to remember that children have, I like to remind people, and some people haven't heard, that children have perfect mental health care practices built in. They have all their tools built in to their beings. And then we as adults, as we respond from some of our narratives, conditioning, maybe it's some colonization, not at the level of race, but at the level of humanity. Work, 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 don't rest, 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 get it done. Maybe we resist these natural and wise ways that children try to offload stress. So we'll get into that a bit today. And then we have a zone that many of us might relate to, the combination zone, where you've got to be somewhere, you've got to do something, there's a demand being made, and you've been in the blue zone. So the nervous system adds a little red, a little bit of power, fuel to get you out the door. The combination zone is like having the foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. And in combo zone, people will experience anxiety and fear and panic. They are not able to deal with their stress in the way that they want. They're basically suppressing their actual need and bypassing and going into something that doesn't honor their need to either scream and yell or rest. So that's the combination zone. And then we have the green zone, which is where we all want each other and our children to be all the time. And that's the bright eyes and the joyful and the available, the connected. Joy is present where stress is being addressed sufficiently. Joy can then fill this cup. I like to talk about this cup that gets filled with challenges, and there's no room for anything good until we empty it, till we let it, till we empty out that stress by whatever means, and then we fill it with joy. And that's where we'll get into some of the techniques to work with children. Let me just say that if anytime something I'm saying is not making sense, if I say it in a way where it didn't land for you, you can just interrupt. You can raise your hand. You can pop in and say, I didn't get that, Amelia, go back. And there is going to be a lot of time in the second half for questions. So moving on from our pie chart. Oh, now here we have these cuties. And we're going to be here for a moment. So I picked the cutest picture that I have because I thought, well, we'll look at this. I might actually choose to pop out of screen sharing at some points during this time. I'm letting you know that, Becky. So here we have these two cuties, and this is green zone, and this is what we all wish our kids felt all the time. And the neurorelational framework and in my practice, we encourage people to note that there's this idea that this view we have of children sometimes, and we say, oh, they just want attention. They're just looking for attention. And that's exactly what's happening. And we're trying to normalize and get this new language in here. They're looking for connection. They are looking for attention in the form of connection. They need to make connection. They need co-regulation. Another nervous system, an adult, mature nervous system that in the best of cases has done its self-care. So there's this available nervous system that is regulated, and this child who's meeting the world with a small, immature, undeveloped nervous system, not a lot of practice, not a lot of time meeting all the sensations of the world. They need our help. They need another nervous system to co-regulate with. So in Connect, we see here, I'll go over it briefly and then I'll go over detail. We start co-regulation is key. We can use intense emotions to get to acceptance and joy. And I'm going to connect that with opening the learning system to allow pushback. So I'll talk a little bit about those two for a moment. Co-regulation, using the intense emotions to get to acceptance and joy, is to meet a child where they are. meet them exactly where they are. One of the tools we use is match. So you have a kid. I like to give examples. I work with a kid who fires me. Every time I come into the house, he fires me. Never come back. I hate you. Go die. Kill your cats. All these things, they're hard. And I'm like, wow, okay, here we go. He's starting off running in the red zone. He's extremely stressed out. These motions are huge. He's hitting things. He's throwing things. He's wants to tear the world apart. And what he's saying is, I was doing okay, and now we're having a transition. And I don't know if I'm going to be okay now. I don't know if it's going to be fun anymore. My mom's about to go off and do something different. My siblings, whatever, something is about to change. Had a regulated nervous system, and now it's going to be different. And that is scary. And now this child drops into threat response. And so he's like, get out of here, Amelia. Go away. Don't interrupt this good thing I've got going. And I get to look at him, and my tool is to narrate. And you'll see these tools listed on another slide here. I get to say what I see, and say what I understand. You don't want me here. And then nothing. Just let him hear that I see what it is. No attempt to change how he's responding. No attempt to fix it. Just let him know, oh, this is hard. Oh, you don't want me here. Don't talk to me, he yells. Get out. I'll kill you. Quiet. This big emotion is an opportunity for me to ride with him and stay with him and be with him and make contact with him, connect with him, and look at him and let him know, I hear you and I understand you. You don't need to change how you're feeling. Thanks for letting me know. And I get to be a little bit excited because instead of misunderstanding a child, not connecting verbally or emotionally with a child, this child is inviting me in and saying, you want to know what's going on? This is what's going on. I want you gone. I'm afraid. I feel threatened. So that's a moment where things are intense and I get to respond and say, oh, you don't like this. And then I'm quiet so he can absorb the moment of, oh, what did you say? You didn't say be quiet and sit down and go to another space. You said, you know that I don't like this. Oh, you understand me. You understand me a bit. Number one thing that children need before anything else is they need to know they're understood. So I use those big emotions, those intense emotions, to relay understanding by being quiet and then by making sounds that affirm what I'm seeing. Oh. Mm. And then after he's yelled and screamed a bit, I might say, I don't want to leave because I'm so interested in what I can do to help. Oh, you understand I need help, he might think. So this can go on, and I'll get into it more a little bit, but that's an example more later, but that's an example of an intense emotion being a way to get to joy and acceptance, right? This is a cliffhanger because the picture that goes with this is at the end of the presentation. So this is my one and only big cliffhanger for the presentation. So we move on to opening your learning system to allow pushback. And what that means is when you're the person in authority, when you're the one who can take a kid and hold them in place or take things away from them that are regulating for them or force them into a seat or a car or into some kind of position that doesn't feel good to them, there is a responsibility that we can entertain, which is we can open our learning systems to that understanding that the child requires. And in order to do that, I have to have an awareness that I am the one in terms of power. I am above the power line. And this child kind of lives below the power line. It's my job to bring that child up and explore with them, learn with them, learn about what their needs are. So I open my learning system. That means I have to feel safe. And the child needs to feel safe. In order for me to feel safe, I have to know that I'm going to take care of my needs. And in order for the child to feel safe, I have to show that I'm capable of taking care of their needs. So when I open my learning system, I'm honest. I'm as honest and transparent as I can be. You don't like this. I'm not sure why you don't like it. I don't think I understand. I would like to understand because I want to make decisions that are based on what's real. And I'm not sure if I know what's real. What do you think I misunderstand? What am I wrong about? This is me actively, explicitly, as a note to myself and to the child, preventing myself from staying in authority and making assumptions and dropping into what comes later, some coercion or forcing of outcomes, and getting into curiosity and letting the child feel this invitation to be understood. This is right there. This feels so good to kids. I mean, you can feel it in yourself. Imagine when you as an adult have been misunderstood and someone has said, I think I was wrong. I think I was wrong. And I'm really curious, what was I wrong about? I want to understand so I can try something else. Kids are just little versions of us. If you like it, they like it. If you need it a little bit, they need it a lot. It's how they're going to learn to give exactly what you give them, right? It's how they're going to learn to open their own learning systems, which I think as adults, we would say we like it when kids stay open to the teachings we want to share with them. So we open our learning systems to allow pushback, to let the kids say, a kid said this to me 2 weeks ago. She said, you interrupted me right in the middle of me talking. She screamed at me and I went, you are not the first person to tell me that I've done that. I have done that before. Oh, I didn't. I don't want to do that when I'm trying to listen. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that again. I'm listening. And she said something that, what the dysregulation was not about the content. She was talking about coloring. The dysregulation was about, hey, I have something to say. And I like to know that I'm understood. And if you interrupt me, Miss Amelia, big, giant human being, I know you don't understand me. And then I'm not as safe for her as a person. Because what else might I interrupt? What else might I not understand? So I want to create that safety with her and let her know I know how to listen. So that's an example of opening the learning system. I can't see much, but so far so good. Please let Becky know. Okay, because I'm just seeing my own screen, these little cuties. Okay, thanks. I see a thumbs up. Appreciate that. Okay. So navigate your own navigate your own neurobiological needs. And I'll connect it to the next N. Notice and responding to children's neurodevelopmental needs. So I'll riff on this a bit. Your own neurobiological needs can come up in so many ways. One of them is a resistance to being with children. Oh, I'm sick of this kid. I'm sick of this challenge. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like how I feel when I'm doing it. I'm tired. I'm resentful. I'm angry. I'm sad. There's all these cues that are not regulated nervous system. They are dysregulated nervous system saying something isn't working for me about this. I don't like this. It's not sustainable. I need something to be different. And as adults, our job is to take care of ourselves, not only for ourselves, but because children learn, as my beloved business sister says, in 3 ways: by example, by example, and by example. They learn in those 3 ways alone. So if we don't show kids what self-care looks like, it's all guesswork from there. And they start to go laterally to their peers who also don't know. And then you get this kind of culture of, I will loosely use the word mismanagement, where there just hasn't been mentorship and modeling appropriate to give them something that sticks and is well rooted. So we as adults, when we're investing in our children's mental health, in the children we work with, when we're investing in their mental health, the first place we can do that where everybody benefits is when we take care of our own needs. When I have a neurobiological need, when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, I don't have to hide that from a kid. It's not a benefit to them if I prioritize pretending that I'm available for what they want to do over what I need. I get to say, oh my gosh, my body just said that I'm so hungry that if I don't eat right now, I'm not going to be able to play games as long with you. I know I'm not going to, and this is just the truth. I know I don't want to play games with kids when I'm tired and hungry and grouchy. I don't want to hang out. I want to go do an adult thing that refreshes me. So I announce it to a kid. Hey kid, this is what it looks like when you're an adult. One day, this can happen to you. And here's what you do. You say, everybody, it's the equivalent of saying, I love myself. I love myself. I'm going to stop. No, I don't want to stop the game. I don't want to stop the game either. But my body just told me that I'm not even going to be able to play the game at all if I don't put some food in my body right now. And then, you know what else my body told me? I have to rest for 10 minutes afterward. And then, you know what else it told me? That I will be able to play for 20 more minutes. And this is me naming my self-care, showing self-love, prioritizing my well-being, modeling what I want the children in my lives to recognize, to see and learn. Then I make my boundary. I'm going to eat and rest for 10 minutes. And then because I'm taking this dopamine moment out of their lives, right? We're partying, we're having fun. It's dopamine. They are built to seek it. I'm going to give them something else to look forward to. Then I'm going to be able to play a little longer than I thought I was going to be able to play. Now I want to riff on this a little more. When I need to really take care of myself and it's disrupting the child's good time, I can use words. And this is what I train on. I can say, I can qualify it. I was going to be able to play kind of having fun and being excited for 10 more minutes. I can tell my body is saying that. I could do that for 10 more minutes, kind of excited. And not for very long if I don't eat food. But after I eat, or after I go outside and do my stretches for 10 minutes, whatever it is, I'm going to be able to play with big energy for 20 minutes. And they're super interested in the part where you're going to be present with them. Kids typically will always choose the part where you're going to be more present for longer because that's connection. That's what they want to co-regulate with. They don't want to co-regulate with you when you're in dysregulation. That's co-dysregulation. They want co-regulation. They want to feel good. And honestly, they want you to feel good. And that's what those red flags are for. Rah, 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 rah. Oh my gosh, I'm an adult. This is making me nuts. I got to do something for myself. You just tending that thought is the opposite of neglect for yourself. Just tending that thought is a little respect for the self. Oh, I have a need. Just that could regulate your nervous system a little bit as opposed to neglecting it, pretending it's not happening. And the child immediately can riff off of that with you. Whoa, you said you were going to go eat and you don't seem as grouchy as you were before you said you weren't, before you said that. Something has changed. Yeah, that's right. Something has changed. I feel a little better in myself because I know I'm going to take care of myself. What happens with something like this is the child will start to crave your acts of self-care. They will not be a threat to the child. They will be a space of safety. Oh, you're going to do self-care? Oh, I know what that means. You're going to have good energy and we're going to be able to play a little bit longer. Okay. And hey, you want to cut the bread for me? And you can start to give them tasks and stay connected. I could get my sandwich even faster if all of a sudden the mustard and the ketchup just appeared on the table. Oh, okay. Off they go. They're so it can be a game. They can help take care of you and it can be fun. So this is your neurobiological needs. And then, of course, the child, right? This person who's halt is a way to think of it: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Halt, the need to connect, the need to meet one's needs. A child whose needs are not met, they're going to let you know. They're going to cry, they're going to yell, they're going to whine, they're going to resist, they're going to refuse. And and what they're doing is their perfect self-care. They're not going to let this moment go by without you knowing, I have a need. I'm a kid. I have a need. And you're like, what is it? This mystery, right? Sometimes such a mystery. And when we don't know what it is, when you're not sure what the neurodevelopmental need is of the kid, we go into what you see and what you understand. You don't want to get out of your chair. You want to stay in your chair, and I want to go over there. I wonder if you're going to be able to come with me, or if this is a day where all you can imagine is sitting in your chair. That's the only thing you want to do. Yeah, I'm only going to sit in my chair. Or a baby, holding on to I'm imagining children 3 and up. And we can talk about babies if we need to at the end. People have questions about that. But or 2 and up. 2 and up. Yeah. You don't want to let go. You don't want to get out. Oh, I don't want to. Your body, we say your body. Let me just insert this here. Because children and adults take things so personally. It's so easy for us to get our tender feelings hurt. We talk about their bodies instead of them. Oh, you're having a hard time and you don't want to do it and you won't go and you're throwing things and you're being loud. Your body, because it's the nervous system instructing the body to offload stress. So we repeat what we say. Your body wants to stop. Your body needs to yell. Your body needs to kick. Yeah. That body is like, body knows exactly. Big energy, big emotion, kick something, hit something, scream at something. You're an adult. You ever been, had a rough day? Realize if I go running, if I go dancing, if I go rowing, if I go boxing, if I do my workout, if I work in the garden, I'm going to feel better. And then somebody comes and tries to interrupt you in the middle of it. They're like, hey, no, not yet. I got to take care of this first. And that's what a kid is doing when what we call behavior, when we see what we call undesired behavior, what they're doing is they're releasing stress, and it's a stress response. They're showing us they're having a stress response to who knows what. And that's the hard part. Something that's really hit me lately is that when we're pushing a stroller or we're holding a child's hand, or they're on our back or on our front and they're looking at the world, we don't actually know what they're taking in. We don't know that they noticed a dog in a bad situation, a human doing something that was dangerous and scary. We don't actually know how much children see and are processing with or without understanding what they're seeing. So when I've had people say to me, my child isn't traumatized. Maybe not, but maybe they have seen something. And it doesn't matter if we confirm if they're traumatized or not. A trauma-informed approach is good for everyone, and connecting is a trauma-informed response. It's making yourself available to support someone in need, whatever their need, however big or small. When they're supported, they heal, and it doesn't turn into what can culminate in chronic illnesses or challenges or personality disorders or all of these different possibilities. So the child's needs, your needs, they're really not that different. You're looking for the same signs. You're looking for indications that there's stress. And the tools are ahead here. So empower yourself and your children to hold and respect each other's boundaries. Empower yourself and your children to hold and respect each other's boundaries. Respect is a funky one. I talk about natural respect. You can imagine in your own life the people that you respect. Probably none of them are people who simply said to you, you must respect me, without showing you or giving you anything to base that on or to associate with that or to relate that with. It's not enough to say that I'm worthy of respect. It should feel like I'm worthy of respect. And we teach respect because children lead by example. We teach respect by respecting. That's the only way they can learn it. They have to see what it looks like to respect, Because it is, if you think about it, it's really such an ambiguous term. It's like really vague. Vague is the word I mean. It's really vague. Well, respect, does that mean be nice? Does that mean be patient? Does it mean help? Does it mean be quiet? It could mean it. It really is it's really about trust when it comes down to it. Respect is equivalent to me as I trust you. It's equivalent to that. I trust you. I want to be around you because when I'm around you, I don't get hurt. I do get help. I do grow. I do learn. I am loved. I am safe. I'm curious. I want more. I want more. That's what respect for me feels like. And each of us within our families and based on our family values and our cultures will define it differently. And we do instill those values in our children, always by example, whatever that means for you and your family, by example. That's just the way to make sure they've got it, right? Because they learn how to brush their teeth pretty well watching you. Learn how to respect pretty well watching you. Respect. The boundaries is what I addressed a moment ago. When I say to a kid, when I show that I respect myself, when I'm showing respect, when I'm teaching respect to a child by respecting myself or them, I'm hungry, I'm tired. I did this with a client yesterday. I said, my body just told me I have to do a puppy rest. And I laid on my back and bent my knees and my legs and just laid there for 2 minutes because I just needed to refresh. And I said, who else can do this? And these kids I just met yesterday all got on their backs and did the same thing. And I got about 4 minutes of rest laying on the floor as they mimicked what I did. And I talked about, oh, it's so important that I rest because then I last longer and then I can have more fun with kids, and letting them hear all that reassuring, safety producing content that I have to offer, which is, hey, I'm taking care of myself and you're going to benefit. And then I get to put in my boundary. Oh, I can't get up yet. My body didn't say I can get up yet. My body said, if I want to give my best energy to the kids, I have to stay here for 1 more minute. Is it hard to wait? It's kind of hard to wait. Will it be nice if I have all my energy when I get up? Yeah. They say yes, yes. Do you have any ideas of what I can do with energy when I get up? You could chase me up and down the block 17 times. Oh, transparency, boundaries. Oh, my body says I am not a 17 times chaser. Whoa, that's so many times. Can you do 17 times up and down? Joy. A little disappointment, right? A little disappointment. Really want me to chase you 17 times? Ooh, and I can't. That's a little disappointment. Let's bring in some joy. Can you do that? You can? What are you, some kind of superhero? Are you a cheetah? You must have some cheetah blood in you. Let me see. Do you have spots on you? I suspect you have some leopard spots under your socks. Because if you're that fast and you can go that far, you must be some kind of person. So here's this moment of disappointment where this thing they can look forward to, where there's a dopamine promise, is being removed because my boundary is no, I can't do that. And then I insert a little joy. What about you is so awesome? Oh, you do that. Who can you do that with? Maybe their brother or sister or sibling is around. Can you do 17? No, but I can do 10. You can do 10. I want to watch you guys do 10. No, we want you to do it with us, Amelia. We want you to do it with us. Okay, let me tell you what I can do 10 times. I can do a scream and a la 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 every time you come back from a lap, and I want to do that. And that's what they just want me there. They want my nervous system nearby to connect with. They want my good feeling. They want me to feel good about what I'm doing so that they can feel good when they're near me, and our nervous systems are mirroring neurons. We're in this like really sweet, positive mirror neuron loop, as opposed to me resenting that I'm there, wishing these kids would, just go to sleep, hang out, stop asking so much of me. So that's the boundaries. There's a place for boundaries, and kids have boundaries too. One of the ones that kids don't get acknowledged for very often is that they don't want to hug people. Now, culturally, there are values that cultures hold that say we do or don't kiss people. We do or don't hug people. We do or don't acknowledge adults in a certain way. And my statement is not as to whether those things are right and wrong. The inquiry is, what is the safety of the child? Why? What helps the child be safe as we integrate our values into their lives? Why a child says, no, I don't want to hug you. I mean, I've had kids hug me who really didn't want to hug me, and that's a rupture for me. And I don't actually want that. I'd rather have them not hug me and feel my respect that they have their own body, and learn from me that I respect that their body is theirs, because actually that's the information I want to drive home. If I'm having an impact on kids, I want them to believe that I think I don't have a right to make them do things with their bodies that they don't want to do. And for me, there is no level of interaction that is not an opportunity to drive that home. You don't want to kiss? Oh, you like fist bumps? Oh, you just want to do wink, wink, duddle, 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 blah. It's all connection. And it's connection with respect that teaches values. If in your family it's always a kiss on the cheek, a kiss on the cheek, well, we can talk about how to honor if that feels like a rupture to a child in just a bit here. Check my time. Oh, I knew it. I knew that was going to be the case. So cultivating cooperation instead of compliant, and teaching values. So I've kind of hit the T, thankfully, hitting the T, teaching values, meeting needs, rather than reacting to behaviors, right? A kid is yelling, screaming, and we realize this is a stress response. So instead of saying, you better stop right now, and pulling them and go over there away from us, being the example. Oh, you don't like this. You want this to be different. The tools are coming up for this. And let's see, cultivate cooperation instead of compliance. These are related. All of these approaches that I'm talking about create safety with children. When you create safety with children by by using curiosity, which is a way of collaborating, right? It's like, hey, what do you think? What were you doing? What was your idea? When we get into those collaborative connections and practices, we are, instead of asking them to just do what we say and not explore their worlds and not allow them to be in their natural practice of as children of exploring their knowledge and understanding. I mean, that is their job. Their job is to be like, what do I get? What don't I get? How do I figure out what I know and what I don't know? And when we give children answers and we fix things for them, they don't learn much about what they know and don't know, or what they can do and not do. They just learn about what we think they should know and what we think they should do, but there's no exploration for them. And children are experiential learners. So without the experience, the learning is not as deep. Sometimes they catch it, but not at the level that kids are capable. So with this cultivating cooperation instead of compliance, I'll tell you what, that curiosity is medicine for children. It is a salve for their spirits. They love to be asked. You know they do. They ask you a lot of questions. They're showing you who they are when they ask you all those questions. They're like, I like to explore. I like to learn. I like to try things. So when we cultivate that when we're cultivating cooperation with children as opposed to using compliance, right? What we're saying is, I got my boundaries, you got your boundaries. I'd like to understand, and I'm open to understanding. And when they feel understood and they feel empowered, and they know they're going to be heard, there's an interest in staying in the space of exploration and solutions. It's not so much about they have to do it their way or you have to do it your way. It's really quite enticing to be a co-participant in solving a problem. And of course, what happens when children solve their own problems, or when they collaborate in problem solving as opposed to comply to demands, is that their self-esteem develops and increases, their self-confidence, their self-image. All of those things are affected, impacted by the way they get to contribute to human day-to-day occurrences and challenges. Okay, little girls. Okay, so this you'll get a copy of these slides. So you don't have to memorize anything. And I'm going to go over this briefly, and then we'll go over to the break in just a moment here. But these are some of my most commonly used tools. And I thought, oh, I could do 4 tools. I could do 6 tools. And I thought most of the time people are saying, how many tools have you got? I have a lot. So I gave you 9. 9 simple co-regulation tools. Narratives. Narratives, what I've explained. Oh, say what you see and what you understand. You didn't like that. I didn't know you weren't going to like that. You were going, and explicitity, you were going to go get the dog, the little, your stuffed animal, and you were going to bring it to me. But that other kid came and took it out of your hand, and now they have it and you want it back. Even though the kid is in a hard moment, it feels so good to them to have you say, I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. I saw it, I heard it, I watched it, I understand it. It feels so good because they're not alone in this hard moment. When we don't express our understanding to children, they process the world in a kind of isolation. And as adults, we might well relate to how disempowering it can feel to try to process something big in isolation, that we need some kind of great support there with us to be with us. So proactive and retroactive narratives means you can talk about something hard with a kid before it's going to happen. If you know they're scared to go in the water, you can talk about it leading up to it. Oh, we're going to the pool today. You don't like to get in the water sometimes. Last time we went, you didn't like getting in the water. You wanted to stay with me. I wonder if that's going to happen again today. Yeah, I'm not going in the water. Oh, you can tell you don't want to go in the water. Okay. Well, last time you sat with me, let's see what happens. Stay in curiosity. That was an example of retroactively addressing something with a narrative and proactively addressing something with a narrative. I know what happened last time. I know that could happen again this time. What might we do? Curiosity. The narrative is just a place where the child gets to see that you understand them, that you might relate to them, and maybe you're giving them some options, some tools, some choices. That feels really good to kids. Storytelling, as simple as it sounds, fiction or nonfiction. Stories you've heard, maybe your family stories, when you're a great grandpa, or when I was a kid, or I remember when you were a baby, or I remember your sister told me you once did this when I wasn't home. But when we have matters that are hard to describe or understand or to relay or to help children understand, storytelling is so helpful. They're built to learn that way. And you can go to a library and get a book on almost any topic, including moving and divorce and mental illness and grief. There's books out there. So when parents themselves need to care for themselves and or caregivers themselves need to care for themselves, and they don't have sort of the energy or the inspiration to come up with something fresh, you could have a little library that's just full of books that address things that maybe are hard for you, where you need a little support, where you need a reminder. You can support yourself in that way. And I just like to tell kids, oh yeah, that happened to me once. I did not like it. And they just, as soon as they hear that I relate, tell me more. And here we are again in a moment of a child meeting a challenging moment, but not alone, not in isolation. And an adult giving an example and an adult who's doing well, saying, I made it through, I made it through there. I made it through that moment. This is what I did. What would you do? I would do what you did, but I would do it this way or that way. There they are again in their space of exploration, expanding their minds, their understanding, growing their self-esteem and their confidence. So there you have your storytelling. Stay listening is a tool we can do for children, for others, and for our own minds. Stay listening is when we don't try to direct the conversation, stop the conversation, control it, judge it. We just let it be there. We just listen to it. So with a child, they don't want to do what you want them to do. They don't want to go. They're afraid. They're mad. They're excited. And we just listen. We just stay and be a regulated nervous system to the best of our abilities. If our self-care is on point, some pretty good regulation. We stay and just listen. Don't say anything. I've given this note probably in the first part one, but children, children don't answer, don't process as quickly as adults do. And adults, especially in the age of the internet, are like, I asked a question, where is my answer? Siri? Kids are not Siri, right? And so I recommend to adults that you say the ABCs in your head as a minimum amount of time to allow a child to try to process what you've asked of them. As a request, as an action, as an inquiry, say the ABCs. And people get to G and they're like, you got to be kidding. I'm not waiting that long for this kid. But that's what the kid needs. If you want the kid to have time, if you want a child to have time to run it through this young mind that hasn't gone over this 100,000 times like you and I have. This is their first, second, third, 10th, 20th time looking at this possibility. It's revealing new factors and dynamics every time, and they're curious and they're meant to learn. They need some time to look at things so they don't get up off the chair. They don't bring you the thing you ask for. They don't tell you the answer to what they want to eat. They're just looking at a lot of new stuff and feeling, and it feels different than last time. What is the answer this time? It's going to be a surprise to them, and it'll be their first time maybe presenting it in a new way, and they need some time to organize that. So that's stay listening. And that's for you too, for your own mind. Give yourself some time. Don't judge your thoughts around how you take care of children. If you're doing good enough, if you're having resentful thoughts, self-judging, confused, just, oh, yeah. It makes me want to jump. I'm going to skip matching. I'll come right back to it. I'm going to go from stay listening and jumping down to the fifth one right in the middle. Of course. Of course is one of my favorite tools. I shared it in the part one. I'll share it every time I meet people. Of course. Relay validation and understanding in just 2 words. Of course. Of course I'm judging myself right now. Of course I feel insecure. Of course my kid needs more time than I want to give him. Of course there's so many kids in here right now and I'm asking myself, what have I gotten myself into? Of course I'm tired. Of course I'm sad. Of course. The things we feel are natural responses to stimuli. And you meet yourself and you meet children with, of course. This is a verbal and internal response. You can say it to yourself out loud. You can say it to children out loud. They love it. Of course you didn't want him to take your toy. Of course you didn't. You were playing with that toy. Ooh, little regulation right there, just because you get it. You know, I think actually, I've hit some of these, so I'm just gonna let us go in a minute for our break. So, of course, is this tool, these 2 simple words. I've talked about saying what you see, which comes after, of course. I'll go back to matching and countering in a moment. I've talked about say what you see and what you understand, modeling curiosity and transparency. Wonderful tool, one of my favorite tools. Hard to remember. Sometimes you got to write it on your mirror or put a post-it up. Say what you see and what you understand. Or, of course, across the mirror in front of you for your own sake. Show and tell self-care. We've hit that one. Be transparent about your adult needs. Prioritize your nervous system. Stay curious. Make it known that you would like to observe and learn. This makes you more of a safe person for a child when you're curious, because then they know they're safe to stay in their natural organic space as a child of being an explorer, an experimenter, research and development. That's who these people are. They're just doing research and development, whether they're neurodivergent or what. They are figuring out ways to make their lives work, and they are the most qualified when it comes down to it. In the end, they will be the ones who best understand what their needs are about, and we can help them along the way find those solutions. Matching and countering, I'm going back up, above, of course, below, stay listening. Matching and countering. A kid is yelling, a kid I work with, get out of here. I hate you. You don't want me to be here right now. When I match a kid, their energy, they know I get it. If a kid yells at me and I go, oh, what? Why are you yelling at me? I don't seem to get it. They want to know I get it. They want to know I understand. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, you're talking really loud. That tells me you really want me to know I hear you. When you talk loud, I know it means you want, and I don't yell. I do what I'm doing right here. I keep it a low volume, but I match the intensity. You want to make sure I hear you. I know when you talk loud, it's because you want me to know I hear you. And maybe you won't be talking loud if you're sure I hear you. We're going to find out. They love it. They're like, good. You get it. Countering. A kid who's zoom out there in the red zone. Oh my gosh. You went really far. This is really hard. I go quiet. I'm still matching in terms of acknowledging, but I'm countering. I'm giving them something to mirror a state of nervous system that isn't happening for them. So I go calm. Oh my goodness. Maybe I want them to sit down with the book for me, and they're going with the book to read the book, and they're running around, climbing up the walls, and I just sit down with the book and look at the book. I counter their energy, show them this other option where my nervous system is regulated and I become an attractive nervous system to them. Now they want to come get near me. It might take them a couple times through the ABCs, but they like the feeling. And then the final one before our break here is one step ahead. So many kids are like, can we go? When are we gonna? I want to you said we were gonna just beat them to the punch. Surprise them. They love it. It's just like double gift. It's like a double gift value for a kid when you give something to them prior to them requesting it. Hey, I remember the other day you said we never spend enough time on the slide. Guess what we're doing? We're going to the slide. Guess how long we're going to be there? 1 hour. Do you think you can slide for an hour? This kid is like, woo! I thought I was going to have to wait till next week to get you to take me to that slide. You're doing what? You made a plan to do something that brings me joy? Oof, that creates a lot of safety with a kid. And I've given examples here. Hey, you said hey, last time we played, you didn't like. I was wondering, do you still think it would be fun do you still want to make those cookies? Just beat them to the punch. It feels so good to them. That's bringing it home for you understand. Wow, you understood me so well. You remembered, you made a plan, and you greeted me with that plan. Joy cup, stress out, joy cup getting full, 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 full. Now you have a kid who, in a challenging world, has some fuel, can take on some challenges and meet them in a different way. And they need to, which we will get to after we take a break. We have, look, okay, so we'll come back to that after the break. And let's see, we have, let's take a 5-minute break. I was going to give you a little more time, but I have a lot of information. If you come back late, that's okay. So I'll see you at 7:10, or sorry, 5:10.
5:10. Mhm.
5:10.
Thanks, Amelia.
Yep. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment here. Oh, look, there's a few little faces there. Get my slide back up. I'll see if I want to use that slide or not. Every time we do a presentation, one slide doesn't get used, at least. Okay, friends, I'd like to do a little something called a regulation reset. I'm not going to do that now. I'd like to do a little regulation reset, and that is to invite you to practice the of course tool. So on your own time, just taking a breath or an exhale, or sit a little more comfortable in your seat, or whatever you need right now that feels a little sweet for you. And I'd like you to bring something to mind, maybe that happened already today in the first hour we were together, or maybe that happened earlier today, or earlier this week, or ever in your life, where I call it like a wasp kind of follows you around, and you're like, "Oh, this thing still, I wish it would I wish I felt okay about that thing." And in your own time, just give yourself, and of course, finding that idea, that memory, and just acknowledge yourself. Of course, I felt that way. You might have your hand on your heart. Maybe there's a way you acknowledge that you're being with yourself. And taking a breath and staying with it, of course. Of course I did. That makes sense. It's okay. Of course I did. Now imagine, as our second part, someone giving you an of course. Imagine in a place where maybe you didn't feel understood. Let's just repair that narrative. Just imagine that place, whether someone didn't give you enough change at the grocery store, or, yelled at you, gave you a bad gesture on the freeway. Just let them know. Of course that felt like that to you. Of course you didn't like that. Of course you wanted me to do something different. Just feel the power of course, as one of my favorite tools. And on your own time, coming back into presence, knowing that there is power in these two little words for you and the people that you love. I will go back to sharing my screen. Share. There. Okay. The value of ruptures. We've been talking about, go away. There we go. We've been talking about these tools. And one of the things that happens in life where, of course, becomes really important is when we have ruptures. Any misunderstanding, any undesired outcome, uncomely behavior on your own part, on someone else's part, unsavory. You just don't like it. You don't like how you acted, or how somebody else acted, or what you said to a kid, what a kid said to you. Now, the value of ruptures cannot be understated. If children learn by example, it is through ruptures that they learn repair. This is our opportunity to authentically, transparently teach repair to the people, the children in our lives. So we embrace ruptures. They're natural, they're human, they happen every day, and they're gonna happen. And being empowered and informed, trauma-informed about how to make repair is an invaluable tool. I maintain that my number one tool in addressing repair, entering into repair, is to use incredible transparency, radical honesty. That for me sounds like I'm a little nervous. It's hard for me when I have to acknowledge something I did wrong. I don't feel very good. I feel kind of yucky right now. And I know I can't live with not saying something. That's with an adult. I have to start with the most vulnerable part of me. This is actually very regulating to another person to walk in with vulnerability or transparency. If you want to, whichever you feel good about those two words. So with a rupture, let's have an example of a rupture. I caused a little child to cry the other day, and I haven't done that in a long time, and it really broke my heart. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. It was so hard because my job is to be with children while they're crying, not do things typically that hurt their feelings, but I hurt her feelings. And I hurt her feelings because I was in my own nervous system setting that was dysregulated. And I stated my feelings out loud. Typically, I use soul speak when I say my feelings to kids. And I let it all out, but not in words they can understand. But this was going so far. I said, I don't even feel like coloring anymore with you. I said that. She started to cry immediately. Now, I didn't quite say it like that. I said, I don't even feel like coloring anymore. My inspiration is so gone. Because they were kicking and yelling and screaming and demanding. And I talk about inspiration. I have inspiration, but my inspiration goes down when I get yelled at. That's just real. That's a good thing for a kid to see is real. I lose my energy when I have somebody calling me names over and over and over, yelling at me. Yes, you get to yell. When you yell at me, you might find that I'm different. Maybe I'm okay. Sometimes I'm okay, but sometimes I'll be different. And that's okay for them to know. So I was different and she cried. Oh, Lord, it still hurts to think of it. But luckily I made the repair. And the repair sounded like this. When I was frustrated earlier and I said that I didn't want to color with you right now because my inspiration was going so low, I didn't like that made you sad. I didn't want to hurt your feelings and I didn't want to hurt you. I would like to have done that differently. That was not how I wanted to do it. And I don't want to do that again. Now, this kid has a really hard time acknowledging her emotions. So she said, you don't need to do this. And I said, and then I get to honor her, right? Her boundary. Okay, you don't need me. You don't need me to say it. I'm just going to remember because I'm going to do it. I'm going to drive it home because this kid who has an issue with people's feelings in part is because she gets hurt a lot. So she's learning to protect herself and starting to build a wall. So I'm very gently, and I know this kid really, really, really well. So I knew I could do this. I said, okay, I'm just going to remind myself, don't do that again, Amelia. I did not like how that felt. And that was a little different for her. She did like it when it was just me telling me what to do, not asking her to acknowledge that she had an emotional experience with me. Kind of a cool 2 places to visit with this. I modeled, here we have model, teach your values. Children learn by example. Now I can't see it because I've got you. I wanted to see you all. So let me see if I can move this and I can see my own notes here. Pardon. Here we go. And then I'll move this up. How do I get this? There we go. La, la, la. Okay. So many buttons in the world. Effectively tend guilt and shame. Address. Oh, there we go. Ugh. I was telling Becky that when I'm in screen share, I can't see my cursor. So that's why you see me popping in and out. Okay, now I can see my cursor. Blink. Effectively tend guilt and shame, addressing and preventing drain and dismay. Yeah, that feeling, that wasp, the haunting of I don't like how I was, I don't like how they were, that eats away at us. That is a source of toxic stress, and it deserves real-time attention when possible. So when we make repairs, we're tending our own possible guilt and shame, or helping someone else who may be sitting in guilt and shame to come out of that space and into a space of healing. A repair is a healing. And so we're addressing what ends up draining us and giving us this sense of dismay. We create understanding with explicit details. Say what you see and what you understand, as I did with that little girl. And with that little girl, we were coloring. And I did not do the most explicit repair with this little girl. If I was going to do the most explicit repair, it would have said, you and I were coloring earlier. We were getting ready to color, and your brother was doing a lot of screaming. He was having big feelings, and he was using his body voice. His body voice was big. And you were doing some kicking. Your body needed to kick and push. I'm a little loose with these kids because they know me, so I can get away with saying you because they don't take me as ever judging them, except for last week. And my ears said, this is too much. My ears and my inspiration were overwhelmed, and I lost my inspiration. And I said, I didn't want to color with you anymore. And then you were not happy. I didn't say that. I said, and then you didn't like that. It looked like you didn't like that. And that's the explicit repair. Naming everything you saw happen so that they have the greatest experience of being understood by you. And then I'd like to do that differently. I'm going to do that differently. Do you have any ideas? What would you like me to have done differently? You shouldn't say you're not going to color with me. Yeah, I wouldn't want someone to say that to me, especially because the truth is I love coloring with you. My ears were getting frustrated and my body was getting tired of feeling like it was kind of a hard moment. And I said something that I didn't like how it felt in my body. And I don't want to say that again because I really like to color with you. I'm going to work on that. That's a pretty explicit repair. I'm not remembering the language exactly. I used the language that was good for her, but the more explicit, the better. And I'm matching. I'm showing. I'm relating in my body. I'm not acting. I'm thinking about how would I feel? How would I feel? How have I felt? Putting myself in someone else's shoes, empathy, compassion, Why not put yourself in little shoes? The world is so big for them. If we can put ourselves in a child's shoes at all, what a boon to them to get an assist like that at this level of the world being so gargantuan and feelings being so huge and new and unmanageable without some help.
Oh, I think Amelia's screen might have frozen. Amelia, can you hear us? One moment, folks. We might need to have Amelia log out and back in again.
Um, okay, thank you. Everybody can hear? Okay, good. I'm so glad we have a backup way. So, yeah, the natural respect, the trust, the honesty. We can all put ourselves in the shoes of a child or just anybody we know, or reference our own experiences. Someone comes up to you, says, these are my values. I behave according to my values. It elicits respect and a sense of safety and trust.
And we didn't want to exemplify that for children. And then, okay. And then my note is it's never too late to make repairs. So I have this brief example. I have in my own life a huge rupture with one of my parents, enormous rupture with one of my parents. In fact, both of my parents, I have multiple ruptures. I have done my work. My parents have respectively done their work. We've gone slightly different paths, had times where we weren't in connection. And at 47, with a parent who is 69, we're making repairs right now. I remember that this happened. I didn't like that. I wanted something else for you. What could I have done differently? Oh, note taken. If ever given the opportunity, I'm going to try that out. I'm going to remember that and exercise it. It's never too late. Repairs, there can be a complete healing between a 95-year-old parent and a 72-year-old child. They can have a complete and thorough healing using a trauma-informed approach to repairs, which is the explicit detail, underscoring that you understand what happened. I did this. I did that. Then I did this. Then I saw you respond in this way. You got scared. You went that way. I went to find you. You didn't want to talk to me anymore. And I didn't like how that went. I didn't like my part. Attending some of that guilt and shame. One of the biggest inhibitors for me for repairs is shame. Just sharing in case anybody can relate. It's like, I don't want to feel that. That hurts. I did that. Very much in conflict with our sort of the colonized aspect I talked about earlier, where we're perfectionistic. We're supposed to do things right all the time, and we see ourselves as somehow failing or flawed when we make mistakes. Meanwhile, children are learning from us as we fail and show our flaws and then show how to recover and respond. They are learning and become equipped to address similar situations in a way that is an upgrade to our own experience. And isn't that what we typically say we want for kids, is for them to be able to experience an upgrade to our own experience? So it's never too late. Now, in my notes, I asked, this is the part where there's meant to be time for questions. And in my notes, I say, what are your examples? Do you have examples? And I'm going to ask you to pause for a moment on that, because I want to look based on the time and see how much time I have. Yeah, I think. Yes. So I'm going to we're going to just do this as a group so people can hear each other's examples and hear my responses. If anyone would like to share an example of a place in their life where with a child, or really any example you like, but with a child is great, where you would feel that a repair is due, or didn't know how to make a repair, or maybe tried and it wasn't satiating, it didn't feel relieving. Is there anybody who wants to raise their hand? And if not, that's okay, but anyone want to share about that? Give an example and ask me, what could I have said? I can give help if you like. Okay, no, I see, I see some people I know are here. Okay. Okay, well, hopefully that's because I've explained it well enough that you feel like you can just walk right into a repair with your toolkit full and ready to roll.
Amelia,
Oh,
can I interrupt for a minute? Nico
yeah.
has their hand raised.
Oh, Nico, yes. Hi, Nico.
Amelia, good to see you again. Yeah, I had an example a couple of weeks back where I was trying to transition a kiddo into a session with me, a one-on-one session, and he was like in the middle of a game on the playground, and he had like grabbed somebody's shoe and was like running away from this child with their shoe, and it sounded like the child really wanted her shoe back, and like I totally did the thing that I know I came by honestly, and I hate in myself where I was like, danger mode, gotta stop his body, gotta return the shoe because that kid's not safe. Like, and it was an enclosed playground, like he couldn't go anywhere. And so I got in front of him and I stopped his body, and I like he got mad and he like threw the shoe back in the general direction of the child and then like tore off. And when I walked around the corner, he was sitting at the bottom of the stairs and said, "I've been here the whole time. That was my clone."
Brilliant.
Yeah. And I feel like in the moment, like I rolled with it, and I didn't push it at all, but I didn't go back explicitly and say like, hey, you know, that thing I did, I wish I'd done something differently. I kind of justified it to myself the next week when I saw him, because like we were fine. He was play with me, we were okay. But listening to this, I feel like I wish I had like paused what we were doing and gone back, but there was some nervousness that like want to re-stimulate that, or I don't know.
Oh, I love this. May I respond? This is a great example. I really appreciate it. So, I hear that, and kids do forgive and they move on and they love you and they just want to have that good connection with you. So if they can go ahead and just get back to that, they will. And the power of a retroactive repair is almost twofold, because if you think about what the exemplification is, it is, hey, sometimes things are so important to me that they stay with me. They don't just disappear. They don't just go away. And I don't just forget about them. I keep them with me and I think about them, and they mean something to me. And then if you choose to make a delayed repair, which I'm full of those in my life, all I do really these days are delayed repairs, the feeling of being understood is given, which is valuable and energizing and joy producing, which is worth something. But also if there's a response, I hear this all the time from parents. I don't want to go back and do a narrative because I don't want to bring it up again, because I think the kid is going to go into dysregulation over it. What that means is there's stress around it, and that you've given them an opportunity to offload any residual stress that they bypassed, because your love is so important to them. And your presence as a co-regulating nervous system in their lives is so important that they're willing to put their feelings aside and their needs aside. So it's really a beautiful example of that inner wisdom, Nico, that you're reminding us. We all have all these indigenous practices are indicated in our bodies. It's like, this doesn't feel right. It's not quite, I'm still thinking about it. And that's a beautiful orange flag saying you might actually still want to do something. And then if this kid goes into dysregulation, oh, you don't want me to bring this up again. Okay, I won't bring it up anymore. I'm just gonna note to Nico, next time you are gonna do something, look for a different way. And then on another day when he's in the green zone, you might say, you're not doing a repair anymore on the specific issue, but you're saying, you're so strong. Remember that day when I grabbed your body? And I think you don't really want me to control your body, right? You don't want me to control your body. What could I do instead? And you can still go back and do an inquiry that doesn't approach it the same way, but still address let him feel that he's understood and give him a chance to collaborate with you and show the curiosity, which is the salve. I believe curiosity is a salve. Yeah, and that would be, and then it would tend it sounds like you have a need maybe in this too, and that could tend your need. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you. I love the piece about collaboration and just like recognizing, like with so many things, if I'm feeling a feeling about it, it's probably also present in the other person or in the child's, and that's just an indication that there's residual stress. So
yeah,
thanks.
Thank you, Nico. And I saw someone in the chat say that answered their question when I answered Nico's question. Are there other people? Did I miss any chat questions or ideas? I can look. Oh, okay, I get it. I see. Thank you. Okay, cool, Nikki. I'm glad that worked for you. Anybody else come up with an idea, a question about repair? Okay,
Can I
great.
share, Amelia?
Of course.
I'm just feeling called to share, some ruptures that I've experienced with children in the past as an educator.
Mhm.
And, years have gone by now, and I still will have this moment of regret, guilt,
Mhm.
shame around how I reacted to a child, or how I was being really being very judgmental of a child and not seeing them in the best light.
Mm.
And I just wanted to share this in case it resonates for anyone, that even though I feel that my opportunity to make a repair directly with that child has in many ways passed, because that child has moved on and has left my program and is in another school, and I'm not in contact with that child or family anymore. Sometimes when I feel that come up, I have to do some of that repair for myself, if that
Mm.
makes sense, like kind of
Mhm.
tending to that shame and that guilt within me by kind of not rehashing the full details of the story, but what you were saying earlier, that in that moment, I was doing the best I could with the resources I had at the time. And I know more now. And if I could do it again, I have all these wonderful tools that I would love to be able to apply.
Mm.
And at that time, I was doing the best that I could.
Ugh, yeah.
And like acknowledging how many wonderful resources were also in that child's life, that the rupture that I may have caused, that child experienced repair because they had such a resourced unit around them.
Mhm. Mm.
So I just want to put that out there for anyone who's feeling like, oh, I feel like my opportunity to repair is long gone.
Mhm.
But I love what you say about it's never too late, and that repair can actually look lots of different ways.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh, I just so appreciate the share, Becky. I relate to it. I have those of my own where I'm like, oh my gosh, that kid is long gone. They don't remember me, and I'll never tell them that I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't done that, you know. But I believe in a living amends. We call them a living amends, where you live your amends. And so you live your life differently and in accordance to the amends or the repair that you wanted the individual to have, and thereby send out a ripple of the love that you intended for that person to have. And then, of course, and it sounds like you've done this, Becky, but of course, and you just did that right in front of all of us. You just showed us. Of course, you did your best. Of course, that was hard, you know? Um, I'm gonna pop back on. My internet came back on, so I'm gonna pop back on, and I'm gonna um join in to show these final slides, because you've got it. Remember, I told you there was a cliffhanger. I can't leave you without the cliffhanger. Here I come, Becky, and if you'll make me the co-host again, I'll share my screen. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. Wow, cool. Speaking of imperfection, I watched a slideshow where a woman went so slowly to respect her nervous system. What a good reminder. She's kind of the queen of it all. And she just did what she needed to do so she could stay present. And I thought that was incredible. What a great example she was for me. I'm still working on that, and I wanted to say it out loud to remind those of us who work with these devices and work in this fast-paced world where we don't grant ourselves the space and time to do that little self-care, that little tiny self-care where you just be patient with ourselves and allow people to accept us as we are. It's wonderful modeling for children. When kids are so here we are on this slide, and here it's perfect. It says at the very top, don't call it behavior, call it a stress response. That's directly from the neuro-relational framework, the NRF. That's the way we are. That's the indigenous wisdom, acknowledging that when a behavior is happening, there is a need that is being indicated by the behavior, and that instead of using behaviorism as an approach and saying, you just gotta reward it or put a consequence on it, but to go into understanding and I say mine for jewels, mine for gems. See what you can find out. What can you learn about a child so that we really expand our capacity to meet the needs of not only that child, but then we become more capable of meeting the needs of other children simply by way of practicing with unique individuals along the way. Oh my goodness, this thing, I'll have to see if I can get around that next time with the cursor problem. So this was my extra piece here, and this is something that you'll have. We call with Children in Bloom, Betty's and my upcoming company, our organization, we call these children outstanding children, the ones that you're thinking of when you're like, what do I do about this kid though? This one kid. What do I do about that kid? That is an outstanding child. And we know, and they are both ways outstanding. They are truly phenomenal beings. They have exceptional skill, exceptional views of the world, exceptional intuition, and they stand out because they're sensitive to these things, because they have this unique, honed and sort of exaggerated skill set that gives them sort of superpowers and super challenges. So they stand out, and that causes the adults to stand out as we respond. And that's where that colonized thinking comes in, being concerned about what other people think about the way we are approaching children. This society is not a mental health care prioritizing society. It's a productivity prioritizing society. Okay, I went ahead a little bit. And so this is where I want to look at these paradigm shifts. And this quote, "I've got your back," came from a mom, was my first in-home client as a full-blown children's embodiment coach. She took a couple of years before she finally said, I got it. I'm just like, I got your back. That's what she said about her kid. It gives me goosebumps. Oh my God, it makes me cry a little, honestly. This kid who was harming animals was harming his mom. She thought he was going to really have problems. And had he continued to wave those red flags without her responding, maybe, who knows, what kind of illness could have taken hold in this child. The picture I have of him from when I started working with him looks like this. The picture I have of him now looks like this. He's just happy now. He's doing great. And what it is that he is the sensitive person with these amazing skills, and he feels and sees things she doesn't know. He feels and sees, and her response is, stop being too much. It doesn't fit in our society. So he's isolated in his view and experience of the world. The paradigm shifts. This style of this approach to parenting and of childcare giving, this trauma-informed approach, is a paradigm shift that challenges the narrative, the colonized narrative. We're shifting our paradigms from resistance to acceptance. Not saying you should be something else, but this is who you are. How can I be with you so you're not isolated? From fixer to supportive observer. The fixer does not relay that they understand necessarily what is going on. They relay that they think things should be a certain way, and they're going to do what it takes to get them that way. That's typically what is relayed. The supportive observer can relay understanding and give that salve, apply that salve to that space and that place and that moment with that child. We're shifting our paradigm from suppression of feelings, thoughts, truth, needs, to expression of feelings and thoughts and truths and needs. And you can see how this counters our colonized societal practices. Suppression, is that crying at work? Are you asking me? Yes. It's crying with my class of students last week, saying you can go take a class with the other teacher, or you can, or anybody who wants to see self-care in real time with someone who has tools that I've cultivated over 20 years. If you want to see what it looks like to trauma-informed respond to a trigger, you can stay with me. And 10 out of 11 stayed with me. 10 out of 11 stayed with me. They wanted to see, and they said, we need this mentorship. We need this modeling. We need to know that it's okay to let ourselves express. And I said, yeah, I'm saving my own life here. I'm not going to let myself get sick. If I can help it, if I have something to do with it, because I respect and love myself, I'm not going to let myself get sick. I'm going to cry right now. And it was a beautiful day. It was beautiful. And then the other paradigm shift among many is from expectations to excitement. When we expect our children and people in our lives to do things a certain way, we typically just arrive in disappointment. Ah, I wanted you, you didn't, why you were supposed to, I thought you did. All these projections as if we were, fortune tellers somehow, predicting what people are capable of from one moment to the next. In this world, not right now. Too many variables. That kid who you don't know what people noticed, what they're taking in. So from expectations to excitement, as opposed to being disappointed that your expectations were not met, be excited about what someone can do, what they do when we meet them in a trauma-informed way, and create that space and that safety and that understanding. And it is, I have goosebumps so hard. It is exciting. It's so exciting to see this kid, the kid I told you about, watch his shoulders go from here to, and he says, I love that picture of me. I look great. Yeah, you do look great. He feels great. His mom's still working on stuff. She's doing better. Those red flags are take care of yourself, adult, because I can't co-regulate with you until you do. And that's where we need each other. We need a lot of support to stand in the face of practices within our society that don't support self-care. We're getting there. The pandemic was a beautiful wake-up call. It really woke some people, a lot of us up, and I'm grateful. And here we go, right? Okay, so we're here. Let's see the time. Yeah, okay. Do I want to? I've told you that, yeah, these are just things that this is a slide I wanted you to have. The delineation between developmentally appropriate and healthy behavior versus detrimental stress responses, the delineation is based on something you can actually, you'll see this, a link I'm going to give you, how long a child spends in stress. A child should typically, if it's not toxic, have a stimulus happen, respond to it, cry, have some feelings, get some co-regulation, and be able to go on to the next task. Maybe get green again. When they can't come back, when they're 25 minutes in crying, when they're multiple times throughout the day going into the red zone, when over the course of many weeks, they're spending time in that space, they are in toxic stress. They need a trauma-informed response. And that is what this has been today. That's what this is. This is nothing short of a trauma-informed response. It is the way Indigenous people whose societies we revere, when we look at the way their children participate in culture, participate in crafts and food production and sewing and harvesting and building, the way they know their role and their work, and they like their work and they like themselves. This is all over the world. There's a through line among Indigenous cultures of a sense of belonging, regardless even of the setting. There's a sense of belonging because there's this different way of empowering and of being with children, rather, being with children, which is empowering. So there is a place for time and stress. There is a place and time for stress. The nervous system must be stressed at that healthy rate in order to mature. It's like, oh, I didn't like that. Oh, wait, whoa, I figured something out. I did it. Oh, wait, I know that I can do things. There's that self-esteem, that self-image. The nervous system must be stressed in order to expand and to mature. Toxic stress has the detrimental impact. And then prioritize self-care above productivity. And that is a paradigm shift, and that is a challenge. And if you feel resistance to that, if you see yourself in your life resistant of it, just, of course, I can say, of course, to you right now, of course. And I say it to myself, of course, I feel this way. Of course, it's hard to stay on this road sometimes. It's the road less traveled, but it's about to get really busy. That's the hope. And everything here I shared. So I want to go to my cliffhanger, and then we're going to get close to the end, and I'm going to be available to stay a little over if that is something you would like, and Becky, if Becky would like. But other than that, we'll end at 5. We'll end at 6. So here is the cliffhanger. So I don't have permission to use their images. So here they are. Remember the kid who fires me every time I come to see him? This kid is, he's neurodivergent. They would say his diagnoses would be, PDA, defiance aversion, or I'm sorry, demand aversion, and ADHD and neurodivergence and autism. And this was a day where he was done with me. I mean, he's always hard on me, but he tries to be hard on me, right? My nervous system is like, you're letting out your stress? This is great. And this is the ultimate paradigm shift. I actually want him to do what he's doing, as opposed to wishing it wasn't happening, making it stop. I want him to do it. I want him to do his perfect self-care that is written into the wisdom of his body to preserve his well-being, so he can be the happy, healthy kid that we're all envisioning. So this kid screamed at me, said, "Get out the door." Not today. He said, "Anyone in the world but her," is what he said to his parents. Anyone in the world but her. And I said, "You don't want me to be here." Don't talk to me. Okay. No talking, stay listening, just observing. You have to go. She has I can't, I don't leave kids. When I'm here to help a kid, I don't leave until I've done the fun thing and done the helpful thing. It's important to me. I care about you so much there. I would never leave without offering some help and some fun. And he's like, "Oh, you care about me. Interesting. Maybe I'm going to get some more good, responses out of you." No, well, he's starting to think about it. "You can do a fun thing with me, but you still have to leave." "Oh, you want me? I can do. Now I'm in. Now I get to add joy to his life, which is what stress requires, is joy. That must meet stress with joy. And that's play. Children learn through play. We talked about that a lot in the first part. Children learn through play wherever you can, So he's screaming at me. He's usually has to be ripped off of someone. I do the loose hold. And then this time I didn't do the loose hold. I said, "You don't like it?" I said, your body is showing me that it cannot let your mom go over there. And so I might help your body, but I remember that you said you don't matching. You said you don't like it when people control your body. I don't want to do something that you don't want me to do. I don't want people to control my body. I don't want to do that. I really don't want to. I think you don't want me to do it, and I don't want to do it. Now he's like, "Okay, you're pretty cool, actually. I still want you to get the heck out of here, but you're pretty cool, And so I see him still, and I'm like, "Oh, I think that your body is showing me it needs help, but I really don't want to do something you don't want me to do. I want you to be free." I say this to children. That's them some powerful words. "I want you to be free." And he looks at me, and for the first time ever, he let go. Not the first time, but in a different way, because he was as far as he'd ever been. He let go, and this picture was taken 2 minutes later. And that's what I wanted you to see. This picture was taken. And so while he was doing that, I was doing proprioceptive red zone with his sister. She was pushing on my feet, kicking me. I was doing strokes along her body. I call them sweeps, you know, like sensation on her arms and on her face and on her shoulders and her legs, pushing. She gets really stressed. She has night terrors, this kid. She stopped having night terrors once we were able to integrate real-time red zone sessions for her while he is in his red zone, so that she doesn't get an accumulation. Because what happens is he comes out and she goes in. So this time the mom was there and I was there. And so the mom, I was able to do the narrative, let him know I understood him. Meanwhile, letting the little girl let all her energy out, all the red zone out. And this is the photo that resulted exactly 2 minutes after his parents went out of the room. And here you have the nrfcare.org. You have been learning and sharing. I've been sharing about the neuro-relational framework. And if you want what I call the whole enchilada, if you want to dive right into the source of all this beautiful practice that I celebrate every minute of my life, you can go to nrfcare.org and they have a free toolkit. They'll send you a bunch of stuff to download for you to use. And my website temporarily until further notice is Mango Family Wellness. You can schedule with me there. There's not a lot on there anymore because we're moving to another website. And then Alt Avenues is me and Betty. You can find both of us there in case you want to see what she's up to too, or if you can't get on my schedule. And I really appreciate and respect so much that y'all have been here. Ooh, look at what happens as I start to cry, because this is about the people we love and this is about the future of our world, and they are giving us perfect indications of what to do next. So thank you so much for taking the time, which is love. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Amelia.
Wow, Amelia, thank you so much. So powerful. I just love that you reassure us that our children are perfect and that we can be playful and intuitive with them and release these colonized norms that we've inherited. Thank you so much.
Of course. And there's speaking of the kids, hi over there. I love it when a kid is on the call. Thank you, Nikki and Kit and KC and Anthony and Laura. Thank you, Kit. Thank you. And I can't see the name. I know Nico. Good to have you here again, but I'm not seeing. Oh, yeah. Erin? And Misty. I really appreciate it. And if I don't know what your schedule is like, Becky, if you're running off, but if people had any follow-up questions, I have a few minutes to open for that if they would like.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm happy to stay on with folks
Anthony.
as